Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled First Contact with Karens and I Don't Work Here Lady Stuff. Okay, that was my first time on USA, my first contact with a Karen and my first contact with this IDWHL stuff. I'm 30 yo guy, traveling with my family to Miami to shopping and stuff. There was a nice mall in front of our hotel, which I believe I can't say the name but since it's a very famous shopping mall with a marine mammal on its name, let's call it whale shopping. The shopping mall is big and very exciting. It was pretty fun to see different people at the same time and place from all over the world. I went to a clothes store and bought something for me. Suddenly a female costumer, let's call her Karen, approached me. Karen. Excuse me, do you have it on larger size? At first, I thought something like, you know what? I want to help this lady. I looked around and found the same shirt in which appeared to be a larger size. Me. I found this one. Take a look. She took it from me and then gave me back. Karen. Okay, I'll buy it. Me. Okay. And gave her back. When she stared me back I realized what was going on. Me. Oh, I don't work here. I'm sorry. She took her glasses off. Karen. Okay. Can you call the manager, please? Again, I know I probably take the wrong decision but it was my first travel out of my country. I really thought that the best thing to do was try to help and then leave. So I went to a guy at the register and told him what was going on. That lady thought I worked here. Now she wants to talk with the manager. I just tried to help, I'm sorry. The guy gave me a smile, trying not to laugh, and said, Guy. Wild Karen appears, oh? I got the Pokemon reference from there, but at that time I thought she was a well-known costumer named Karen. The guy was going upstairs to find the manager. Since I was so trying to help I made my last and unforgivable mistake on my life. I called her. I approached her and said, Me. Ms. Karen, the guy on the register was Karen. How dare you? WHO do you think you are talking to? I got pale. I just froze while the entire store was looking, lifted up my hands the exactly way I'd do if I get robbed, or if a crazy dog was barking at me. For about 5 minutes, which felt like an hour, she was saying all sort of things. Slowly, I was approaching the register, as if I was a little deer scared by an wolf or an wild boar. She was following me, of course, step by step. I saw the manager approaching as my great white horse knight ready to protect me from that dragon. Karen. I demand you fire this lazy employee, wasn't that the word, but okay. The manager took a look at me and I slowly dropped my hands down. Manager. Okay, lady. This guy tried to help you for what I was told but he don't work here. Karen seemed to be satisfied. Karen. You Latinos are just lazy, aren't you? Manager. If you don't back off and leave this store, I will call the police and me and this guy, pointed to me, are going to press charges for racism. Karen left. Man, I was like, what the heck just happened? The guy on register asked me if I was good and explained me what is a Karen. It took a long to realize things like, so, because of how I look like it doesn't seem like I'd be a costumer too, and crap like that. Oh, and the employees realized that I didn't want to leave right away to not risking finding Karen again, then they started to joke about. First Karen we never forget, there is a Reddit about it, here, so, you were a Karen virgin. Just lost your Karen virginity. The girl on the register suggested to call her Whale Mall Karen and told me about her experience on Karens. Found a Karen and new friends at the same day. The next story is titled You Are Not a Customer. I'm a shift supervisor for a retail drugstore chain. On the other side of our parking lot is a casual dining restaurant that's famous for its pies. We'll call them Pie Shop for this story. For a while, Pie Shop was not answering their phones or their phones were down. Several times a day we'd get calls from people asking if we knew if Pie Shop was open or why Pie Shop wasn't answering their phones. We would say we don't know and the customer would understand and hang up. However, one night that was not the case. I answer the phone one night and a man on the phone explains that he's been trying to call Pie Shop for the last half hour. He then asks if I could walk over to Pie Shop and if they were open to please put in his dinner order. I say a polite, no, and the man starts whining. The man sounded like he was possibly around 30 or 40 years old. Man. Why not? I'm hungry. Me. I work for drugstore, not pie shop. Man. I was going to stop at drugstore to buy something. That makes me a customer of drugstore. So you have to help me. Me. If it is something involving drugstore, I will be glad to help you. This is not. If pie shop is not answering their phone, you need to either find a different place to eat or come to pie shop yourself. The back and forth banter of him saying he's a customer and me saying no went on for the next 2 minutes. Finally the guy surrendered but ended the phone call saying if he goes to bed hungry tonight, the fault's on me. The next story is titled Karen Declares War on My Parents for Cutting a Tree Down on Their Own Property. I, 25M, have been living away from home ever since graduating from college. My parents both retired recently and last summer they decided to use some of the money they'd saved up to finally build their dream retirement home in New Orleans, where they've been living for the past 10 years. I come from a very tight-knit family, so I still talk to my parents every week, and they were so excited when they said they'd already picked out the location where they wanted the house built. It was an empty lot in a nice neighborhood where a house had been demolished not long before due to age, and the previous owner, who was pretty wealthy and owned numerous properties around the city, decided that the lot was worth more without the house on it. Anyway, my parents snapped it up as soon as it came on the market, but not long after construction began, they realized that they were building their dream house right next door to the lair of a wild Karen. The trouble started when my parents had to cut down a large oak tree that sat in the front of the lot. It was a real beauty, too, one of those big southern live oaks. And although they didn't want to, they knew they had to remove it because it was in the way. No one likes to cut down a big beautiful tree, and believe me, if there was a way to avoid doing it without impeding the construction, my parents would have taken it. So they called a tree removal service, and the tree was soon gone. Well, a few days after the tree had been cut down, my dad was on the property talking to some of the construction guys and making sure everything was going smoothly. He was going back to his car when he saw a woman in her late 50s walk out of the house next door and head to her mailbox. My dad, let's call him John, is a pretty chill and laid-back guy who likes to be on good terms with everyone, so he walked over and introduced himself. "Hi," he said, holding out his hand. "My name's John and my wife and I are going to be your neighbors once our house is finished. I just wanted to come over and say hi and introduce myself. It's nice to meet you. What's your name?" Karen glanced at the extended hand, then looked up at my dad and glared at him. "My name is none of your business," she snapped. "I'm not going to shake your hand because of COVID, and even if there was no COVID, I still wouldn't shake your hand because you people ruined my life when you cut down my tree. I still can't believe how selfish you are. You should both be ashamed of yourselves." My dad was taken aback by this and pointed out that Karen already had a nice big oak tree in her backyard, but Karen ignored him and stalked back inside her house. She never explained why she thought she was the owner of the tree that had been cut down, not once, and whenever my parents asked about it, she refused to answer. I guess it's just one of those things we'll never know, like what really happened to the lost Roanoke colony or the fate of D.B. Cooper. My parents met some of their other neighbors later that day, including a nice elderly couple who lived in the other house next door, Karen's, and when my dad told them what happened, the neighbors said Karen was like that to everyone and no one in the neighborhood liked her. They also said that Karen had been nasty to them for a long time and they were in the process of selling their house because they couldn't stand living next door to her anymore. Karen soon began living up to her reputation. For months, whenever my parents would visit the house to see how the construction was coming along, she'd find something to complain or confront them about. One time she said the construction workers were being too loud and threatened to call the police, even though it was the middle of the day. Another time she said that the construction company was using illegal immigrants as cheap labor and threatened to call ICE and have the whole project shut down. My dad mentioned this to the owner of the company, and the owner sent Karen a formal letter threatening a lawsuit if she tried. I don't know if there were any actual grounds for a lawsuit, but the threat must have worked because ICE never showed up. Oh, and then there was the time she tried to have my parents' car towed for illegal parking when they parked by the curb of their still unfinished house. The first my parents knew about this was when the tow truck showed up, but the driver took one look at where my parents' car was parked and told Karen he'd send her a bill for wasting his time if she called him again. I could go on. Karen did everything she could think of to try and interfere. She was absolutely relentless in her crusade to avenge a tree she never even owned. Happily, the house was completed despite her best efforts and my parents finally moved in not long after the holidays. My mom told me later that she caught Karen watching them bitterly from her window as they were taking some of their boxes inside. She was concerned that Karen might keep going and try something else, but I guess Karen was too busy wallowing in self-pity over her failure or something because things were actually quiet for a while. But a few weeks ago, things changed. New Orleans has had some really bad weather lately due to the winter storms that are battering much of the southern US right now, and one night, one of those storms was so powerful that it knocked over the tree in Karen's backyard. It missed falling onto her house, but it didn't miss falling onto her shiny new Jaguar and crushing it like a beer can. According to my folks, Karen didn't discover what happened until the following morning. When she came outside and saw the pile of scrap metal that used to be her car, she threw back her head and let out a primal scream like something out of The Exorcist. She had to pay a tree removal service to get rid of the tree, and then she had to pay for a tow truck to get rid of the car too, and then she had to get a rental car too. Karen put her property up for sale and moved out not long afterward. Everyone in the neighborhood was glad to see her go, and my parents enjoyed watching her drive off into the sunset from the front porch of their amazing new house. The next story is titled "Do Something About That Man Asleep on the Train." For background, I am a security guard and travel fully uniformed to and from work by train. Transit security in my city wear green or blue uniforms with transit security written plainly on the chest. I was riding home this morning wearing my noise-canceling headphones when someone behind me tears them off of my head and starts badgering me. "Lady, you shouldn't be wearing these at work. Aren't you going to do anything about these bums sleeping in the seats? It's standing room only, and I need somewhere to sit." Me. No? Give me back my headphones. L. What do you mean no? You're security, so it's your job. Go arrest them or something. M. I'm not transit security, give me back my headphones before I call the cops. L. Yes you are. If you don't do something then I'll call the transit security office and you'll lose your job. What's your name and badge number? For background, my company doesn't provide numbered badges, and even if they did the number wouldn't be unique to me. I tell her this. L. Fine, then show me your ID. I want your name so I can report you. M. Call whoever you want. I am not going to give you my address, crazy lady. She breaks out the phone and calls transit security, who tell her they will meet her at the next station. When they arrive they confirm that I do not work for transit security and actually call transit police to arrest her for stealing my headphones. The next story is titled "I Am Literally a Kid." This happened during my last year in elementary, 5th grade I think in the US. As usual, the last few weeks we basically play games, do outdoor activities, and during this specific day we spent the day in a forest maybe 1 or 2 hours from our city. We were supposed to be back at 4 p.m. to be met by our parents at 4:30 p.m. but because of traffic or something like that we ended up being late for an hour or an hour and a half. The bus stopped us about 100 meters from the school gate and we saw all of our parents waiting for us, but we still had to go inside our class to grab our school bag. I was one of the last kid to get off the bus, so one of the last to go in the school, and an entitled mother started ranting to me that it was unacceptable to be so late, that she had places to be blah blah blah. I tried to stop her to tell her I was a student myself, but she kept talking and talking for like 1 or 2 minutes until she was like, "Well, what do you have to say?" And I had finally the opportunity to tell her I was literally a kid from her child class and that I have to go get my bag from the class. For her defense, I have always been a big child, and even at 11 years old I was already 5 feet 5, 5 feet 6, but unfortunately I didn't grow much since then. I remember her dumb face when I told her and left. It's a nice anecdote to tell friends for them to believe me when I say I looked much older. It was in 2007-2008 and my mother had no choice but to buy me adult clothing, so it didn't help and I very much looked like a grown-ass woman. Even nowadays when I see my class photo it make me smirk because all the kids are sitting on benches and I am standing next to the teacher. The next story is titled "So, I Work Here Just Not on That Floor or That Job. Only have read it on mobile and don't use it much, so sorry if anything is wrong." So about 3 weeks ago I started my new job at a library. This library is at a private university with 6 floors. The 4th floor is locked and is separate from the rest of the library, with someone needing a key to access it. With that out of the way, on to my little story. My first official day on the job was training all day and learning the library with the possibility to get off an hour early. I was turning in a page I needed to down in the lobby when two men and a woman came in. The man who spoke to me looked like a good old American dad with a t-shirt and a fanny pack. The other two were dressed the same. Tours for the 4th floor were advertised on a sign in between the elevators and the front desk. Earlier that day, I had the fantastic opportunity to see the museum-like 4th floor for about 10 minutes. Normally, you'd ask at the desk for a tour of that floor at a special time, so getting to see that floor was special. I absolutely loved it. At the time, the sign advertising the tours was behind me. Now, 3 weeks having passed and the conversation lasting about 2 minutes, I don't remember much of what was said. Da equals American dad, me equals Napoleon, I mean me. Da. Having a nice day? Me. Yeah, I am. Had a good day at work. This I remember clearly. Da. You know what would be nice? A tour. Me, thinking he's asking if it's good or not due to Aspergus. Yeah. The 4th floor is amazing. Da. Could you give us one? Points to the sign. Me. Oh, no, I can't, sorry. Da. Oh, I thought you were a tour guide. Me. I'm not, sorry. Da and group. Go to the elevator. The end. Short and sweet, but fun. Thanks for reading. The next story is titled Lady Thinks I May Not Be Sure I Don't Work Here. We had the sewer line backup into our basement bathroom this week. While waiting for the plumbing crew to resolve the issue, I headed out to the local hardware, feed store for supplies and gear to clean up the basement. Walking in, I said hi to the cashier and headed back to grab some PPE and other supplies. As I reached the middle of the store, I passed a group of 3 staff, all wearing their red aprons with name tags, and a woman headed towards the front of the store. The woman snaps her fingers and a few times as she steps in front of me and says, "Hey, you work here, I need some help." I look down at my ratty t-shirt, from the first Disturbed tour, my torn jeans, and my literally crappy boots, smile, and say, "Nope, sorry, but they do," pointing at the group of staff just a few feet away. "Woman, are you sure you don't work here?" I rolled my eyes and kept walking while one of the guys in an actual branded apron and name tag asked her what she needed. I ran into the woman at the cash register where she had drifted into Karen land, arguing with the cashier about how they didn't have the right size of bag of feed she wanted. She wanted a 20 lb bag. They were out of 20 pounds bags and he offered to substitute 4 5 pounds bags, which wasn't good enough because it isn't the right size bag. I told her the store in the other end of town had the right size, so she left. I lied, because they are hardware only, no feed, and are closed for renovations. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.